22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.
And are not afraid to say it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are tuned into Black Westchester's People Before Politics radio show's special Super Tuesday edition where we interview the candidates running in the upcoming Democratic primary. I am AJ Woodson. A shout out to my partner in crime, Damon K. Jones. He's not here. I have my lovely co-host, Lorraine Lopez, with me. Say hello to the people.
Hey, hi, everybody.
So we're going to get right into it. We have actually 3 candidates today. They are running on a ticket. I believe it's Bill Vernon Forward 2021. They go by the name Danielle, Browne, Ed Poteat, and Cathlin Gleason, and I'm going to bring them on right now. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Is it Bill Mount Vernon Forward or move
Mount Vernon Forward 2021, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So just so y'all know, this is streaming live off my page, AJ Woodson, and you can share it on any pages y'all want to. So all the people that follow you can see it as well, and can watch it live. And then I will be putting it up on blackwestchester.com, and I will reshare it so everyone who missed it can then just go to blackwestchester.com and see it. So these are the 3 of the 50 candidates running for city council.
It feels like that.
For Mount Vernon City Council for 3 seats. There are 3 seats available. Janice Duarte, Delia Farquharson, and Marcus Griffin, their seats are up. Janice and Delia are running for re-election, and Marcus is running for control, I believe. So he's not running for his seat again. And there is a huge crowd. It's incredible. First off, I give everybody credit who wants to run in an election in Mount Vernon. I just power to y'all. It couldn't be me. It just couldn't be me. And the fact that y'all running for city council and people coming to the city council and be saying all kinds of stuff to city council people, even though they ain't got nothing to do with the city council, I would lose my job because I would tell somebody F you, and it'd be talking about me the next day. So you couldn't just yell at me and I just sit there like that. So I give y'all credit for even wanting to be involved, because I know specifically in Mount Vernon, but in elections, there are good people, good qualified people who do not want to run because the elections are getting dirtier and dirtier. They don't want to put their families through it. And, it's just, they would be great, elected officials, but they're not going to run. Like I heard somebody said, I'm not going to put my husband and my kids through that. I'm not going to do it. So,
AJ, it is a thankless job, but it's also very rewarding.
does. So if y'all don't know, so she's gonna hate I keep doing this. Lorraine Lopez was the first Latina city councilwoman in Yonkers.
Oh, wow.
So
Congratulations.
Many years ago.
so she know a
Wow,
little
wow.
something about sitting in them seats.
There you go.
Yeah, she know a little something about sitting in them seats that y'all are achieving to get. So I know Cathlin well. I've met Ed a few times. I don't know if Danielle and I have ever officially met and spoke.
We haven't.
So this may be our first time. So one at a time, Cathlin, Ed, and then Danielle. Why are you running? Why now? Go.
Hi, everybody. It's Caitlin Gleason. Why am I running for Mount Vernon City Council? I think over the last few years, I've gotten very frustrated. I want to see a strong council out there. I think that there's a lot of things that we can get done to move Mount Vernon forward. And we need professional people in the place of city council to move it forward. We need to have fiscal responsibility. We have to have a comprehensive plan. And more than any time now, we desperately need to get our city services in place. We have employees that are walking around that have done overtime, many hours that have not gotten paid. You have firehouses that are, in a shambles. You have policemen driving around in police cars with, outdated equipment. And a lot of it has to do with the comptroller not paying bills. And, I believe that she's not running again. So
No, she did not hand any signatures in. I got the list of every person who handed signatures in, and she did not even hand signatures in.
Right. So, I mean,
So she's not running.
we will have a new comptroller come January 2022. And like I said, I live and breathe Mount Vernon. I want to see what's best for Mount Vernon. I've worked very hard at the library, at the soup kitchen, and also on the planning board to make sure that good things are coming into Mount Vernon. And I would like to be a part of that. And I'd like to be a part of the decision making when it comes to that.
Hey,
Mr.
thanks,
Poteat.
Caitlin. Yes, sir. I'm running for city council because I fully believe that Mount Vernon is the jewel of Westchester. However, our reputation doesn't belie that. And I believe that the people in Mount Vernon, its diversity is such a strength. Its access to transportation to the rest of the area is such a strength. Even the infrastructure is a real strength. Our problem in many ways is city government. I think we have an awesome mayor. After the election, we'll have a different comptroller. And I'm running to make sure with Danielle and Cathlin that we have a strong city council that can allow Mount Vernon to go back and be seen throughout the rest of the county as the jewel of Westchester. I'm hopeful that first we can bring just a level of professionalism to city council. There's so much infighting happening within city government. There's litigation and lawsuits coming from city government, and versus funds going to paying our police officers, going to paying our DPW workers, it's going to satisfy fights within city government. So I'm hoping just to change that. Secondly, Caitlin mentioned the comprehensive plan. We can have a better future, but we have to plan for that future. I have a master's in urban planning, and I've been working with communities for decades now. So I'm hoping to bring that skill to Mount Vernon and plan for our future in a way that benefits everybody. So those are the reasons that I'm running. I'm super excited to be on this slate. People have asked me, well, you know what? Try to bite off a few things, but you can't bite off everything. And that I tell folks, we're running as a slate so that we can make change from day one. We each bring different skills. And so what's awesome is we'll each be able to tackle different issues that will have an impact to the city from day one. So I'm super excited to be on the slate. And that's why I'm running for city council.
Danielle.
I'm up. So AJ, if you will allow, I just want to give a little bit of background about who I am, and I think it tells the story of why I'm running. So I was raised on the south side of Mount Vernon, right, by a single mom, and my family's been in Mount Vernon for 27 years. So I'm a product of the Mount Vernon school system. I started at Sacred Heart, the Catholic school, but then I transferred over to, at the time it was called Nellie A. Thornton Elementary School, and I started playing basketball there. That's really where I developed a lot of my relationships. I continued playing basketball all the way through high school, and so I was a 4-year captain at Mount Vernon High School, and then I went on to play Division I basketball at Columbia University, and then eventually went on to law school. And I'm currently a practicing attorney, and I run my own law firm that's based in Mount Vernon. But prior to starting my law firm, I used to work in-house for the WNBA's Atlanta Dream Team. And I, currently serve as the co-chair of the Mount Vernon Police Reform Commission. So I'm really running because when I came back to Mount Vernon about 4 years ago, people were disappointed. They thought like I made the wrong decision coming back. And it was really based off of their perception of leadership and what was going on, the chaos that was going on in the city. So I sat back for a few, and I, along with other people, started to complain about the elected officials. I was disappointed that we weren't doing things. Like, I feel like Mount Vernon is a great city, as Ed and Caitlin mentioned, and we have so much talent, so much untapped potential. And it was just a shame what was going on in City Hall. So I'm really running because I want to bring unity to the city. And I plan on doing that, by running a professional campaign with Ed and Caitlin, but also working professionally and respectfully with others, right? I think oftentimes we see people disagreeing in city council, and it's done in a nasty way. I think we can disagree and still be respectful. I also think I have the ability to bridge the gap between my generation and other generations. And I know there's a lot of people who are just like me, who are doing well and want to stay in Mount Vernon, but are kind of turned off by what the city's been doing and how far behind other cities we've gotten. So I really want to bring that emotional intelligence to city council, the innovative thinking that we need. As an entrepreneur, you have to be innovative. So I want to be able to help assist, bring that innovation. With having a legal background, I can assist creating that legislation that we need. So Ed and Caitlin both mentioned the comprehensive plan, but I think that's vital because right now we're a city without a vision, and we kind of been just planning sporadically and developing sporadically, and we need to do better if we want to revitalize our city and generate revenue, because currently our homeowners are bearing the tax burden, right? And it's becoming unaffordable for people of my generation and other generations to stay in the city. So I want to assist in that and help alleviate some of that burden. But I also want to bring in more diverse businesses, like New Yonkers was able to do it. New Rochelle was able to do it. And Mount Vernon used to be that it city, and we kind of fell way behind. So I not only want to catch up, but I want to think innovatively, think about industries that need to come to the city that can help us generate a tax base. And I want to incentivize those businesses. I think as a small business owner, I know I can identify with the needs of business, and I think we can incentivize diverse businesses to come to Mount Vernon and stay in Mount Vernon. That way they can employ our residents and help us revitalize the city. But I also want to continue on with public safety reform, right? I think, we did a great job of coming up with a comprehensive report for the Police Reform Commission. And we made 43 recommendations, and I want to continue that. It's not just our police department that's experiencing badge drain. It's also our fire department and our other departments. So I want to work to reform public safety in general. So I think those are the reasons that I'm really running for city council. But most importantly, is to have that collaborative spirit, right? We haven't had that for so long, so we haven't been able to move Mount Vernon forward. And I want to be a part of changing that.
So in the going on 7 years, I came back like you. I came back home in 2014. So in the 7 years I've been home and Black Westchester has been in existence, we have had 1, 2, 3, and if you count Andre Wallace, 4 mayors. We've had 2 controllers. We've had 12 to 14 individual council members. And regardless of the fact, there's been what I call the civil war in City Hall. The players changed, and everybody who ran in the last election, they all ran on being change agents, that they was going to be able to work with everybody. and we still see the same dysfunction that we saw before. As Damon would say if he was here, Mount Vernon should be the Wakanda of Westchester, but our elected officials and our leaders keep giving our vibranium away. You know what I'm saying? So every person I've interviewed said that they can go in and they can work with everybody and they can be that change. How do you feel that you're going to be able to do that? Would you like to elaborate?
Yeah. So absolutely. I think you have to look at past experience, right? So we have incumbents running, and we can look at their experience and tell what they've done and their ability to work collaboratively. We can also look at past experience in other positions, in other elected positions or appointed positions, right? I think. So, for example, I work with the Police Reform Commission. I was a co-chair along with a few other co-chairs, but I'm a consensus builder, and you can literally contact anyone on that commission and they can tell you how I work collaboratively, how I want to hear other people talk, how I, want to move forward and make progress. So it's not an ego thing. And I think a lot of times people get in and they may have good intentions going in, but they really have greater ambitions. They want to be mayor, they want to be senator, they want to be other things, as opposed to doing the job in city council. And I literally, I'm not a career politician. I'm only running because I've seen my city, be chaotic year after year after year. And I can continue to sit back and complain, or I can step up and be the change that I want to see. So I think you can look at my leadership on the court. I think you can look at my leadership with professional teams. You can look at my leadership on the commission, the Police Reform Commission. And I think all of those experiences and the people I've worked with can speak to how I lead and how I collaborate with folks.
Okay, so I want to give you all a chance to address things that have been said. I know Ed contacted me when things were said. You wanted to address them, but I wouldn't run your video because then I would have to run every other candidate's video. But since we're here now, so things that were said and have been played and repeated and regurgitated on Facebook. One, that you are a Trump supporter, you are a Proud Boy, that those are two of the biggest ones that I remember. That you have a book talking about how Trump can change the Black community or something, and you admitted being a Proud Boy or something in that. I don't have the book, so I didn't read it, and I don't know if you said that. So any of those things right there that you would like to address briefly, I wanted to give you an opportunity.
Thank you, AJ. And I'd like to talk about all those issues. So let me tell the audience a little bit about my background. I grew up in subsidized housing. I was the first in my family to go to college. In my 20s, I started a small business and have run successfully a small business now, or small businesses, for the past 20 years. Growing up in subsidized housing, there was often an argument about, I wish that they would do better, and I wish that they would fix the building. I wish they would fix the elevators. I wish they would, keep things cleaner. And they was always a mysterious thing, right? Because we as Black folk living in that building were disempowered. We never knew who they were. So growing up and going to college, that I said, you know what? If I could become that person that could impact people's lives by building housing developments that were positive in their lives, that would allow low-income families to stay where they are, even if their communities were getting stronger and better, that may be a good thing. So I dove into, in my 20s, becoming a housing developer, and very proud of the work that I did. Very proud of it. I also studied as an urban planner those things that had an impact on cities. Why? Because so many disenfranchised Black and brown people live in cities. So if you could figure out how to fix and take care of cities that weren't doing well, you could figure out a way to empower disenfranchised Black and brown people. So I studied that. I wrote a book in 2012 called The Fiscal Cliff that really talked about why the federal government needs to have more of a say and put more resources into cities. So see, we give our taxes to the federal government, but they don't give it back to urban areas. The second edition of the book came out in 2015 when Trump happened to be president. So that's why it made the title of the book. But I never, ever would be a backer of Trump. I am someone that believes in empowering disenfranchised Black and brown people, and I would never back Trump ever. And also, let me talk about this notion of gentrification for a second, right?
I'm going to get to that. 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 The last question was, are you a member of the Proud Boys? Yes.
Not at all. I am not a member of the Proud Boys. I am a proud Democrat and have been my whole life.
Okay, we're gonna get to that gentrification. We're definitely gonna get to that. Now, Caitlin, I have to interview you like I don't know you. So there were some accusations against you from someone who's known in the community, accusing you of being a racist and other things. And I would like to give you a chance to address that.
Well, I'm not a racist. I'm not a white supremacist. I've made my adult life all about helping people, and that's helping all people. I don't even know what to say. I think more than anything, it definitely hurt my feelings to be called that, because I think that you can't just flippantly use these words against other people because you dislike them. I've never done anything, against Black or brown people in my life, and I feel white supremacists do that. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words for that term. I don't think it was a fair statement. And I work really hard for this community, and it doesn't matter whether you're Black, brown, gay, lesbian, transgender, whoever it is. I support you, and if I can lend a hand to you, I do it.
Danielle, you benefit from, not a lot of people know you, so there wasn't anything. I haven't read too much negative about you. There wasn't no accusation against you. I can't even think of any. So
you come with a clean slate.
The only thing, people didn't know you, and when they first heard your name, and I saw this. So in the last election, we had Joyce Browne and Danielle Scholar. Joyce Browne was the lawyer. So when they heard Danielle Browne, the lawyer, they thought you were in that. Yeah. So people at first thought that you were one of those two. But
I got that a ton. Folks asked me if I had run before. I got that a ton.
Right. So, okay. So, since you brought it up, a lot of people fear gentrification. I had a shop at Mart 125 in Harlem when Harlem went through gentrification, and the people that lived there don't live there now, and you can't see a lot of them. You can walk down the street and that you can count, like, hey, there's a Black person. Oh, there's a Black person. Like, and so, it changed drastically. I knew it was coming when it was 2:30 in the morning and a white dude walked his bike down the street past us on Lenox Avenue. And I was like, there was a time when they didn't cross 110th Street. I was like, oh my God, and was comfortable too. And I was like, okay, this different. So people fear gentrification, and rightfully so. What is called affordable housing, I personally can't afford. So when they build it, there's a lot of people, even some professional people. Damon is a correction officer. His wife is a police detective, and they had to get a house in Orange County. You understand what I'm saying? To live comfortably, because the taxes and everything, and for the bang for the buck that they got, it made sense, with the taxes. So gentrification, usually when they build these areas up, these buildings, then we get priced out of them. We can't afford. It's not that they're officially kicking us out, but you can't afford to stay here. You know what I'm saying? And then, a bunch of people, so the people that were here, that's a concern. So I know that it's been written that you're for gentrification and you want to get the people out of town, try to bring new people in and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to briefly speak to that, okay.
I do. See, so AJ, I just want you to notice something. When you mentioned about gentrification, you also said they, right? And not we. And it's important to make that difference. First of all, gentrification, when it leads to, when it leads to displacement is negative, and no one wants it. No one advocates that. Gentrification on its face is completely wrong and not for our community. However, we deserve, like anyone else, like people living in Bronxville and New Road, nice things. That there's no reason why, if a Starbucks can be in Bronxville, that it can't be on the South Side. That there's no reason why, if there's good retail options in Fleetwood, that those same options shouldn't be for people on 3rd Street. So there's a difference with gentrification and smart development. I am for smart development. I believe everyone should have the same access to shops, stores, healthcare, and great schools. Everyone believes it, right? So that this notion that they're trying to tag me with, that I'm pro gentrification. I am not pro gentrification. I am for, though, smart development. I am for making sure that 3rd Street and the South Side looks just like Fleetwood. We all deserve that, right? And so people use these fear tactics because they have no solutions for how then do you fix some of the issues in the city. So it's much easier to lean on fear than to talk about how you would go about solving these issues. And one last thing, that's why the comprehensive plan is so crucial, right? Because what happens in the comprehensive plan, if it's done right, and I have a master's in urban planning, so that I've seen how communities have done comprehensive plans, it should be about we. What do we want in our city? Once we figure that out, then that plan sets it in motion so that when they come and those developers come, we tell them, listen, here's what we want and here's where we want it. If you're with our plans, awesome, please come in. If you're gonna add tax revenue to our city, awesome, please come in. But if you aren't, we have no interest in having you here. Yonkers has done that well. New Rochelle has done that well. That there's no reason why we can't do that here in Mount Vernon.
So two things that you mentioned. Well, now I want to mention something too. I covered Dave and Buster going to Pelham Manor, which is just right outside the Mount Vernon city lines. One of the things Pelham Manor did, they identified that Dave and Buster was going to cause us so much more, I guess, an overtime with the police department, something about the traffics, whatever, and something else. And it was going to cost the village of Pelham Manor X amount of million more. And they made Dave and Buster, and the building of putting it there, they had in the contract, they had to give that 2.55 million, whatever it was, I can't remember. Right. But the story's on Black Westchester. You can look it up. The story is on Black Westchester with the numbers. We don't do that. Going back to Damon's comment, Mount Vernon should be the Wakanda of Westchester, but our elected officials are just giving our vibranium away. Yep. Elected officials have said, well, we let them do that because, nobody else will come here and build. And I can't accept that as an answer. So, but my question is now, for those, how do you do what you said, smart development? Yep. But keep it where people who live here can afford to still live here, because you use the word displacement. It would if they're priced out, which is it's you're giving them first shot, like a building in Greenberg they're doing, and they're going to give the people first chance to get in there. But the rent's going to go up, and the people are not going to be able to afford to go there. So giving me first chance to be there, you're still pricing me out, and you're still displacing me. So how do you do smart development without displacing the people here and without pricing them out?
Yep.
Great question.
That's literally the biggest reason that I'm running, because of the experience that I had working with governments, working on that exact same thing. So getting to your question, AJ, we first have to understand and do a survey of the needs that we have here in Mount Vernon. So how many families do you have that are low income here? How many families do you have here that are working class and middle class? And then figuring out what our housing stock is to fit that population. to fit those populations. And then once you understand what our numbers are, then we can figure out, do we need more housing for working class individuals? Do we need more housing for low income individuals? And also, are we looking to bring back millennials that are middle class and doing well? But once we understand what those numbers are, we can figure out then too where to site those buildings. See that so often developers, like you mentioned, that they come in and say, okay, here's our game plan. And they strike a deal with city council, they strike a deal with the mayor, who don't know what they're saying, and then come in, build their building, get a pilot, and then go home. If I'm on city council, I would say, just like you mentioned, if you want to come here, what's the cost to our infrastructure? What's the cost to our schools for you coming, right? And once we figure out what those costs are, we're happy to have you come in, but you got to tell us how you pay for those costs and then some. And once that happens, then those projects, those developments that are based on our comprehensive plan, that are positive tax revenue generating, then we're happy to have them here, right? But that's not what's been happening. It's been developers coming in, doing what they want to do, and then leaving. So I'm excited to be there with my skills to make sure that I'm someone that can watch them and make sure that they're doing what they need to be doing for the city, not doing what they want to do for themselves.
Like two good examples. I just want real quick. Two good examples is Target's pilot is over and they're moving to Cross County. And when they were building the Fleetwood building, the building over there, 42 Broad, one of the discussions was the extra traffic coming off that exit when there's so much, and I don't think that was ever alleviated. Like there's going to be so much more traffic for people coming in. I like to see more people consider these things. Like instead of people just telling you what they're going to do, no, this is what we want. I had a conversation with the mayor the other day. Do you know that, and I don't know if everybody knows, so we don't have a master plan. The last master plan was in 1968. I was 2 years old. I'm 55 now. And the only reason I know about that is when Wayne Browne was still the head of the chamber had a copy, and he was going to let me hold it. And it was so old, the back cover and 2 pages just fell off. I wouldn't even put it in my hands because I didn't want to be responsible for the only copy of this. I think Clinton Young tried to do one close to being reelected, but it never got adopted because he didn't get reelected. So I was telling the mayor, even with 125th Street, they had the Pathmark on one side, they had the Magic Johnson Theater on one side, they then put a Starbucks in the middle, and then they built through. But there was a plan to build that. And we put the Lego building here, and we got a building here, we got a building here, and there's no plan. It's just, and I have a problem with that. But when Danielle wanted to say something, I do want to give her a chance to speak.
Yeah, so I think it's important that we don't look at any of these things in a vacuum, right? And that's why the master plan is so important, because we have the ability to bring in those diverse businesses, but we also have the ability for them to employ some of our residents, raise some of the income levels, and do those things as well. So you can't really look at any of them in the vacuum, right? So we have a problem with our police department. Our police department is the lowest paid department in Westchester County. But we can't just raise salaries because that raises taxes. We also have to generate that revenue and think about what kind of districts, what kind of manufacturing district can we bring in so that we offset that balance. So when we're looking at what we're going to do for the city, we have to have that vision with that master plan that you were mentioning, that comprehensive plan. So I think it's important to take note that we can't look at any one of these things in a vacuum, whether or not it's affordable housing, whether or not it's, bringing in that the diverse businesses, the green space, all the things that are important to, a thriving community.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's really important that Ed, Danielle, and myself have been discussing over the numerous Zoom and virtual meetings with the community is it's not all just about comprehensive plan. We have to put money in the budget to fund a proper comprehensive plan. And then we have to make sure that that money is used properly. We also have to empower the IDA, we have to empower the URA, and make sure that they're doing what they were created to do, help small business. We walk the streets of 4th Avenue, Sanford Boulevard, Gramerton Avenue, you know, and all we keep hearing from everybody is they need help. I mean, we just got through one of the worst things that none of us have ever seen in our lifetime, this pandemic. And it hit a lot of people. What Ed, Danielle, and myself have been doing, we tried to say, well, what could we do as, you know, we're running for city council. What could we do? So we created these different events at these different restaurants because the restaurants are one of the hardest hit. So what we were going in and we were doing is asking, you know, the business owner create like a little deal, $20 to stimulate them. That's like what we could do, you know? So we're running, you want to come and meet us? We're going to this restaurant, meet us here. Let's try and stimulate that business. And we're going to continue to do that through the campaign because we can't just sit in the seat, legislate, and not go out and see what the people actually need. You know, we sat down with a restaurant owner, rather, you know, famous restaurant who's having some difficulty. We were able to mitigate that for him. We're staying in touch with him. We're staying on top of it. It's not just about being in city council chambers. It's about being on the street. It's about walking. It's about talking to people. You know, we are the people that we're legislating for. And like what Danielle said earlier, everybody's got to remove ego. I'm tired of everybody's ego. I'm running to be a city council person. I'm not running for any other position except being a city council person. Me, myself, being on the library, I've learned how to collaborate with other people on the board. I've also learned through the soup kitchen how to be able to go after money that we don't know that we're entitled to. I mean, we're very lucky to get money from the county for the library. We were lucky to get money from the county for the soup kitchen, which was desperately needed for the lesser of us. We were shut down for a long time, walking down Gramerton Avenue with one of our canvassers the other day, and I saw one of our patrons that comes into the soup kitchen. I had no idea that we were still open and we were doing a grab and go. We got a lot of people that are on the verge, one paycheck away from homelessness. I've been walking around Mount Vernon, seeing the homeless here in Mount Vernon. Ed, Danielle, and I, you know, we're coming up with plans going forward that we're going to do on city council because we know how to work together. You know, I'm not saying that we're not going to disagree. Everybody's going to disagree. I could promise you something, but I'm not going to. Because once I get in that seat, I have to evaluate everything and see what the people actually need. I'm talking to the people. Danielle's talking to the people. Ed's talking to the people. And what we're hearing, they want to change. They want to change. And we've got the expertise and professionalism, Ed, Danielle, and myself. We've been collaborating and working together over the last few months, and we're going to continue to do that.
Thank you, Jim.
One of the reasons we do this show and we started Black Westchester, I once I did that first story, one of the first major stories was the Memorial Field. Everybody wanted to talk to me. So I finally sat down with then Mayor Ernie Davis in August 2014. And one of the things I said is, y'all benefit from the electorate being uninformed and misinformed. And one of the problems that people in City Hall had with us is that we started informing people. I tried to utilize this to educate people. Hopefully, when it comes time to June, what is it, 22nd, Tuesday, June 22nd, whatever the primary,
Yeah.
people will go to the ballot box and make informed decisions. In 2015, one of the things that bothered me most, and this is no problem, Ruth Hassel Thompson, that's my girl, but that's what people said. When people would say, who are you voting for? Oh, Ruth, that's my girl. That not that she wasn't worthy of being in the office, but you're gonna have to tell me something better than that's my girl. Andre's my boy. I don't know that I'm voting for Andre. You know what I'm saying? And there's no disrespect. I mean, I'm just being honest. That's my boy outside of any of this. You know what I'm saying? But that's not a reason to vote for people. Vote for people because that's my girl, that's my dude. You know what I'm saying? We vote for sometimes, you know, because they're a woman or because whatever. We need to make more informed decisions, and hopefully in these interviews I'm giving people a little something on y'all so they will know more about y'all if they pull a lever for y'all.
One thing I wanted to add, what we've been doing has not worked. We have to move forward. And, you know, I hate when people say, oh, you want to try something new. Well, we tried that. It didn't work out, right? But you have to look at how people carry themselves and the respectability that they have also. We have to bring respect back to Mount Vernon. Okay? I'm like, I get so disgusted when I see sometimes, you know, walking around the street, seeing the garbage, knowing that our city workers who are working really hard for us are not getting paid. I mean, that's ridiculous. That should not happen. And we also need to talk to the mayor about bringing that charter commission back. Because if there's anything that we found out through the last year, there is still more work to be done.
We have a lot of loopholes. A lot of loopholes
are what was natural to that office of comptroller. It was not. It was something that they were doing previous to the person who's in the seat now. But we had to put it in the charter, make it a law. We also need to have enforcement power for the city council. Can't just be able to subpoena somebody and not enforce it. What's the use of that, right? We saw that too. And we have to remove our egos, make sure that we're working for the people in Mount Vernon. Because I'm seeing the people suffer.
And I say all the things that I said because, and this is no disrespect to the three of you, I'm just saying this to everybody. Mount Vernon has been burnt over and over with elected candidates with pretty words before the election. They come into our churches. They say all these nice things. They talk about all the things that wasn't done and what they're going to do. And then they get in and they all promise to be the change agents that can work with everybody. And like I just said, 14, 2 persons, 4 mayors, 2 controllers, ain't nobody being able to work with each other. So the residents at this point are kind of burnt. They've heard it all before.
Yeah,
why should they believe and vote for you? Why should they believe that you're going to be the change?
Wait, AJ, let me add to that. The perception, I'm sorry, I got my second COVID shot and this is the result. The perception for some of us on the outside looking into Mount Vernon is that City Hall is a war zone. That everyone is fighting, no one's getting along, and that the people of Mount Vernon are really, really frustrated. I know that Cathlin mentioned something about ego. Danielle mentioned something about unity. How are you going to change? I don't want to say the culture, the atmosphere. The atmosphere of City Hall. And what happens if the new controller does not get along with the mayor? Are you guys confident, each of you, that every candidate that's running for controller you can work with?
So I would love to answer that, Lorraine. First, it doesn't seem like it, but I believe we made a move in the right direction in 2018 when we got in our new mayor, Sean, passing out. Obviously, COVID hit, and so it's very hard, and it's been very hard for anyone to show positive results during that time. No one, I think, saw in 2018 the infighting with the comptroller and mayor.
Okay.
And lastly, the reason why it's so crucial that our entire slate wins and gets in is because as a slate, we would have 3 out of the 5 votes. So we as a slate would then stop any discord that's coming from city council if the 3 of us all are in at the same time. So there's been progress. It's been hard to see, but we now have a strong mayor. Once we're in office, I believe we'll have a strong city council. And what we will do as city council members is make sure if the comptroller is someone that, you know, isn't doing what they should be doing, like Cathlin often says, we will be there to enforce what they should be doing, which isn't what happened a few years back with our old city council.
Okay.
I mean, let's be honest, right? What happens is the current city council fell asleep at the wheel. What the comptroller's been doing for the last 4 years, it's not new this year. This isn't new things, right? This has been going on since she's been in office. So we should have stepped in a lot earlier and, you know, we're the oversight. As city council, you're supposed to be the oversight for the comptroller. We should have stepped in early and made changes earlier. We shouldn't be getting to the end of her term and we're still dealing with the same issues. Actually, it's progressed. Like, she's gotten more confident in, not doing the job, right? So I think we should have stepped in a lot earlier and made the changes that we needed to make earlier on in her term, because that's what city council is supposed to do. They're supposed to serve as checks and balances. And that's what we are saying that we will do. We will not fall asleep at the wheel and serve as that check and balances that we need on those different branches, the comptroller and the mayor if necessary.
So you guys, one more, AJ.
Lorraine, go ahead.
So you guys sound like a fresh breath of air that Mount Vernon needs. Now, when you guys, you said it's 5, right? Is it like Yonkers where you each represent a certain district?
No.
The people it's overall, and when people go to the polls, they gotta vote for 5 of you.
3.
Oh, now 3 because 3 are running, right?
Yeah.
3 go with us now, 2 go with the 3 go with the comptroller, 2 go with the mayor, so that there's a consistency in government.
And this election is like this election is like the midterm, like a president has their midterm election.
Right.
This is like the mayor's midterm election.
Thank you.
To put it in terms.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Caitlin.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I just wanted to piggyback on what Danielle said and what Ed had said. One thing that I'm very strong about is if somebody is not doing their job, the city council must legislate around them. Okay? If we had the governor's not coming in to help us out. Okay? The state comptroller's not coming in to help us out. So we're the only ones that are going to be able to help ourselves. Okay? And we're going to be very strong. The 3 of us, before we even put this slate together, had strong conversations about how each other maneuvers and works and stuff like that. And we all agree, you have to have a strong city council. It's one of the most important parts of government here in the city of Mount Vernon. And also I wanted to say, sometimes city council ends up being lead agencies on projects, on developments here in the city of Mount Vernon. And us having Ed as a part of city council is a benefit to Mount Vernon. Now, I've heard people turn around and say, we don't need a developer on city council. Well, damn it, yes, we do. We need somebody with that experience, with a master planner. We need an attorney. You need a community chick like myself. Like, this is what we need. I don't know how else, and I'm not trying to force myself on anybody, but the reality is, we care and we have a strong passion for the city of Mount Vernon. Okay. We each community people, we have a young attorney that's going to bridge the gap between a group that has been forgotten, that keeps getting put in the corner. Okay. And we have a master planner. As far as I'm concerned, I feel as if we're the best for the city of Mount Vernon. And we've already proven our egos, none of us have egos. We all get along pretty good, but it doesn't mean that we're going to get on council and everybody's going to agree. You're always going to have a disagreement, but I will tell you this.
Yeah.
When I disagree, I do it respectfully.
I think another thing to note, Lorraine and AJ, you guys were talking about whether or not it's a culture change or atmosphere change. And I think it's really a culture change, right? And in Mount Vernon, we've settled for just the chaos, the popularity contest when we're choosing elected officials. And we really have to change that. We have to stop feeding into the divisive media, the media that makes Mount Vernon looks as if we have nothing good coming out of it. We have to change as a community, really, if we want to see change. So I do think it's a culture change. And it starts with leadership, right? And we're saying we're going to run a professional campaign. You won't see us putting out any dirty personal attacks on any other candidates because that's not our style. We're not interested in personal politics. Personal tricks and things. We are confident in our ability to get the job done without having to attack any other candidates that are running in this election.
So, go ahead, Lorraine.
I have one last question.
No, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Now, Caitlin, you mentioned funding.
Mhm.
Mount Vernon is going to be receiving funding from the federal government via the state for COVID.
Mhm.
Who allocates that money? The mayor's office, the controller's office? Does the city council have to approve it? Where is it going? How is it going to help the people of Mount Vernon?
Any of the funds that come into the city of Mount Vernon would have to be accepted through the city council. But I'll be honest with you, Lorraine, I would have to find out where it was coming from and where it was going to. Is it going to the URA? Is it going to the, a specific department? I will tell you one thing. One of the places that any COVID funding needs to go has absolutely, first and foremost, has to go to the homeless here in the city of Mount Vernon. That's the first thing that I've been seeing. I mean, there's a difference from being hungry and coming to the soup kitchen and then there being homelessness. You have people that come to the soup kitchen, like I said, that are just like you and I, Lorraine. They might just be coming for companionship. They might just not have enough money to pay for food.
They're hungry.
They could pay for their housing. They could pay for the utilities, but they can't pay for groceries. And then walking around the city of Mount Vernon, Food Bazaar has got a large amount of people in the parking lot living behind buildings there. You have people living at Mount Vernon East train station, okay? One of the things that I'm completely committed to, and it's an arm of the soup kitchen, are the homeless here in the city of Mount Vernon. Ed and Danielle share the same passion as I do. They have to get housing, okay? They have to be given their vaccinations. There's a lot of stuff that has to be done for the homeless in Mount Vernon. And another thing, we have to help small business here in Mount Vernon.
Yes.
If we don't help the small business here in Mount Vernon is dead. We need that sales tax. We can't, and we're very lucky that through the pandemic that Mount Vernon has held steady with our sales tax, okay? But we can't afford for any more. I went down Central Avenue. We can't afford what happened on Central Avenue can't happen on 4th Avenue or Gramerton Avenue here in Mount Vernon. It just can't happen. We have to help small business. And then we have to help the taxpayer. We have to fund programs for people who are out of work. We have to make conditions when these larger developments come here into the city of Mount Vernon that they're hiring our brothers and sisters here in the city of Mount Vernon. We need training. We need so much here in the city of Mount Vernon that COVID funding can be used for, but especially homeless, small business, and the residents absolutely needs to be distributed.
So we have a comment from one of the viewers. Dwayne Murray asks, but the reality is, while you guys won't get in the muck of negative ads, you will have to differentiate yourself from your opponents. Can the slate do that, and how? Anybody?
So absolutely. Right. I think it speaks. So, for example, I gave the example of leading the Police Reform Commission. So I'm telling you that I have the ability to lead and collaborate, and they can happen simultaneously, right? So I can share that experience and show people that that's real evidence. There's 27 members on the commission. You have 26 people that could vouch for the way I led that commission. I can also speak to my qualifications, right? I'm an attorney. I'm a business owner here. I have a successful business, and I can, as an entrepreneur, you have a skill set that's transferable. Right? We need to be running Mount Vernon as a city, as a business. And I can evaluate the needs of a business and pivot where need be. So we all were hit. Small businesses were hit during the pandemic. We all had to pivot, right? We had to find different revenue streams. That's something I was able to do in my business. That's something I was able to help my clients do. And that's something I can help the city do, right? So I don't think I need to... So we can differentiate from other candidates, right? But we don't have to have personal attacks. We can speak to their work experience. We can speak to things that are about the city and what they've done in the city, but we don't have to attack family members, aunties, uncles, any of that. That's not necessary to run a campaign. We can do it professionally and speak to their experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that I just believe we are, and I don't say this from an ego, from a place of ego, that we are the most qualified candidates running now. Everyone, for example, is talking about doing the comprehensive plan because we realize that that's a need here in the city. I'm a planner, right? So it's one thing to come up with the paper that it takes and the documents to work on the comprehensive plan, right? But a full nother effort, which needs to happen, is that plan needs to be marketed to the entire community. There needs to be a massive outreach effort to that comprehensive plan. And it also needs to be a lot of input from the community. As a planner, that I get that I've done that before. So everyone can say, yeah, let's work on the comprehensive plan. If it's not something that the entire community buys off on, as soon as we have a new mayor, it'll be someone saying, yeah, that I see this paper, but let's toss it. This comprehensive plan has to live here in the city for at least 10 years to be effective, so that plan is going to go across administrations. Again, that's something that as a planner that I get intimately. I don't think other candidates really understand what that means of what does it take to come up with a comprehensive plan. So I think we differentiate ourselves because we are the most qualified candidates, like Caitlin said, running for this city council.
Another question that came up is, and it came up earlier, but I'm just getting to it now. Can a master plan be crafted comprehensively post-COVID for Mount Vernon? That'll start the city off in a different and better direction. More and more folks are raising their hands and saying, screw it, I'm moving. What does a plan look like that'll make citizens like that reconsider or regain confidence in city government that to them seems broken beyond repair?
I think we're already
Huh?
I'm going to let Ed lead on the, the more structured way of doing that. But I think we're already doing that by going out to the businesses and finding out. We're knocking on every door, finding out what they need. That way, when we go and sit in that city council seat, we're able to legislate properly for the small business owners and also for the residents. But I'm going to let Ed answer on the more structural development and small business.
And if you can, ask everybody try to keep their answers a little more briefer so I can get more questions.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's so much to be said here, right? But I will try to be brief. There's two things that the comprehensive plan has to take care of. One, we have a tax revenue problem. So figuring out what can we do when it comes to small businesses or new developments here in the city that's going to drive up tax revenue. I think that Danielle mentioned it before. We have to run this city like a business, and that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
So that the reason why we can't pay our police a fair wage, the reason why we have potholes that we can't fix, the reason why we have a lack of youth services in this community is that we lack revenue. So we have to have a plan for then how to drive up revenue here in the city. Secondly, for those areas on the south side that are blighted, to make sure that stops, right? And that's not going to happen overnight, but over 5, 7, 10 years, we can make sure that we can take care of every neighborhood here in Mount Vernon. What pains me so much is that people want to be here, that there are cities that I've worked in where people don't want to be there. They have no other options, right? Albany, Buffalo, Baltimore. There's any number of cities where that they would want to drive in people and then want to drive in revenue, but can't. We have that here in Mount Vernon. We just aren't doing it right. So we have to have a comprehensive plan that drives up tax revenue and takes care of those neighborhoods that need smart development.
Before you ask, AJ, just to clarify, because then I don't want nobody come back and say that, oh, y'all said you don't speak on certain candidate or whatever. Y'all not attacking anybody, but you will defend yourself too.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Just to be clear on that.
We have already.
I want people to get confused.
Oh, no, we're not going to lay down and let people lie on us. I mean, we have to defend ourselves.
That's right.
Okay.
You know,
Sorry,
and I mean, we're not going to go after, you know, I've kind of read some of the social media posts, and, you know, I have to call family and friends and tell them, you know, you can't react to stuff like this because, you know, I'm not going to react to lies and rumors and stuff like that. If you come with some fact that you want clarified, I absolutely I'm gonna discuss it.
So I think it's important. Sorry, AJ, go ahead.
I just Maria, and forgive me, Maria, I always mispronounce your name, so I'm not going to pronounce your name. I'm just gonna say Maria.
Hi, Maria.
A lot of people want their plan and create it in closed rooms. That was her comment. Yes, the latest administration has been doing more with live streaming and stuff and meetings, but what I do not see is, because everybody's not watching that on Facebook and everybody, you know, what I do not see, what is missing or what we got away from are town hall forums where the elected officials are coming to the different neighborhoods and explaining what they're trying to do and then getting input from the community. I think that is sorely missing. Huh?
I think this year that was a little difficult, but you know, I think it's definitely something that Ed, Danielle, and myself have been doing. And we've been doing basically our own town halls by going out and into different areas of Mount Vernon and having these virtual Zooms, because it's really important to hear what everybody has to say. And yeah, you're right. You're not going to hear everything and see everything on Facebook or Instagram.
Like the cat that played Aaron Burr in Hamilton. One of the things he complained about Hamilton, you know, Aaron Burr wanted to be in the room where it happens. We don't know how it happened, but we know it happened. It was in the room where it happened, but we don't get to see how it happened. They just told us it happened. And people want to, you know what I'm saying? They can't be in the room where it happens, but they want y'all to come out of the room to come to them and invite them. You know, you understand what I'm saying? So yeah, exactly. Maria also said the second part, she said, I'm in love with Mount Vernon. I'm also in love with cheese. The reality for thriving my life is that I cannot have lots of cheese every day. This is a tough city to be in love with day in and day out every year. It's time for Mount Vernon to do a little more than meet me halfway. If one person wants to maybe comment on that.
I agree, Maria. We have to do way more than meet you halfway. We have to, you know, we have to come full throttle, honestly. We're not in a space where we could, you know, just kind of give half-baked solutions. We have to come with comprehensive thoughts, comprehensive ideas, innovative ideas, and do things Mount Vernon has never seen before, because the status quo hasn't been working for us. Like, doing the same old stuff has not been working for us. And you know, I love the city too, which is why I'm running, because I think we have to do things differently if people are going to stay in this city. I mentioned earlier, we have a ton of talent, a ton of people who just can't deal with the chaos or aren't interested in dealing with the chaos, right? We have people who are scared to enter an election or a race because they're scared of personal attacks. We have to change that. And I think we do that by getting, you know, new people with new ideas and who will go full throttle and do what the city needs.
One of the things I'd like to see, let me get this out, Lorraine, then you can go. Yeah. One of the things I would like to see is our cities work together. And it's so I worked with Andre Wallace when he was his first year or two of a councilman. And Obama did the challenge for My Brother's Keeper. It takes the mayor to, you know, accept it. And it didn't happen. So New Rochelle, which is the first one to accept, called people like me and Andre to come over there to help them get theirs off the ground. There was an agreement that once they get it off the ground, we would then try to get it here in Mount Vernon, and then try to work with like Chris Johnson, who was councilman at the time, and Yonkers. And we were trying to put like a coalition together. I don't see that, like this, I don't see that, and I would like to see something like that go on and not just Mount Vernon. I'm speaking to all the little neighbors. We're neighbors. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't help that everybody built around us. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, we need to work together more. So that's just a comment. But go ahead, Lorraine. You have a question.
All right. It seems to me that the people of Mount Vernon are tired and they need a hug. Seriously. And with COVID, now this is serious now. And I speak from what I know, like for example in Yonkers here, right? The youth, our teenagers in school, they check their iPads, their equipment that they've given these kids. 27% of the children in Yonkers public school system have looked up suicide. Is there anyone checking the children of Mount Vernon? And how are you going to help them? Because coming out of COVID, the mental illness is going to affect children, families.
It's real. It's real, Lorraine. And you know what? We're all navigating this for the first time, but that's a very important point. There's a lot of people suffering mentally because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely where
that's what I'm talking about.
Resources. We have to put resources there. We have to have resources on the police department also that know how to, police and fire department that know how to deal with these situations when they roll up on an emergency scene. It's something very real.
Yeah, you gotta keep an eye on that.
So
Danielle,
I think it's important to note, right? So the Mount Vernon School District is separate from City Council. We don't govern the school district, but I think we can collaborate more with the school district, right? And offer some better resources and figure out ways to solve these problems together. I don't think we've been collaborating at all as much as we need to. So I think that's something that we should look into. As a member of the Police Reform Commission, that's something we were looking at for officers as well, right? It's about those mental health checks because it's tough to go to work every day in a city that has crime and you're not getting paid, so morale is low and things like that. So we mental health checks on for children is just as important as mental health checks for our police officers, for our firefighters and things like that. So I do think we need to form a better collaboration with our school district to help solve some of those issues.
I want to say as far as mental health for police officers. So I worked with several police community relationship forums and committees, Greenberg, White Plains, Mount Vernon, Yonkers, New Rochelle, Peekskill. And one of the things we asked, and I asked the officers and I asked the leaders of the police department, police officers get that mental health check or whatever we're going in.
Right.
But then you don't get it no more. Now, and I want to say this in the defense of a police officer, you come to people at their worst times. So you see the worst things. You see people murdered. You might have just lost your partner. You might have, this stuff affects you just like
children,
people in war. You understand what I'm saying? And sometimes that's what leads to some of the police brutality. Guy might have just cheated, got caught cheating on his wife, and then they just had a big fight, and they bring that to the work with them. We're not checking on the mental welfare of our officers, and I think that's something not Mount Vernon and all police need to be done. As far as mental health, COVID has been an amplifier. Mm-hmm. Mental health has been an issue in a lot of our communities, and here in Mount Vernon specifically, with a big problem that we're not addressing. We've been losing services. They took the probation office out. They took, several other cutting services and keep cutting services. And I'll say this about the police. The police are being asked to answer calls that they should not have to answer, but there's no agency to answer those calls 24 hours. So because every situation, and police officers have said this before the expression defund the police came. Most police officers have told me that they're being asked to do too much stuff that they're not prepared to do. I know when there was a killing of under Ernie Davis, there was a shooting of an emotionally disturbed person I think his name was Anthony Smith. And we asked how many of the police officers are trained to deal with mostly disturbed persons. Very few, if any. They're not trained. The fire department is better trained than the police department to deal with emotionally disturbed individuals.
Right.
We need to put a component, and I'm saying this because you're working with the police commission and all that. We need to put a component where they're more of a social worker type of element that can deal with some problems because a badge and a gun only amplifies the situation sometimes.
Exactly.
Just the presence of a badge and a gun, we need to have some, and I would like to see that implemented, and again, I'm bringing that up only because you're in this.
Yes, I'm
And
glad.
I know one or two other people.
100% support that.
I'm glad you brought that up, AJ, because those are recommendations that we made, right? So you're right. People who know how to respond to individuals who are having behavioral crisis or mental health crises, it needs to start with the 911 operator, right? They need to know how to handle it, how to dispatch the group. Another recommendation that we have is that we have co-response teams when we're responding to these things. So you have a mental health professional who can go out with the police officer, right, and address these issues. And also they can feel safe because the police officer is there. Oftentimes we've seen on TV a million times, someone goes, they're having a mental break and the police officer's afraid. So they pull out the gun first. And that shouldn't be the first response. So that with the mental health professional there, we can get those done. But you also mentioned making sure that you don't just have a assessment or evaluation when you're coming into the police department. That's one of our recommendations as well. It's not just a mental health assessment that we're looking to continue on throughout the career, but also we want to make sure we have that fitness evaluation, right? Because officers come in and kind of, it's a stressful job. They can lose themselves. So we want to make sure that they're fit and can respond to things in the field so that they're safe and that our residents are safe and they feel like they can build a relationship between the police officer and the residents. So it's all about building trust. So those are all recommendations that we made in our report that has been finalized and adopted by City Council. So I'm glad.
I brought that up, especially Dr. Bob and I right now we're doing a series of shows on the whole police reform. He's actually spearheading booking and everything. It's probably going to be like a series of 3. And we're dealing with the county. But my point of bringing that up, we had situations in White Plains where Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. fell asleep and turned over and hit his life aid alert. The police were sent for a welfare check and 90 minutes later broke down his door, tased him, beanbagged him, and killed him. You understand what I'm saying? Like that and they were back and the point was because of his address, they knew, we'll find some kind of drugs or something. Once we get in that door, something will be, to justify us being in there, because of the address. Had that happened, a mile or so over somewhere else, the approach would have been different. And, I say that to say, when we talk these examples, we talk about things that happen in Ferguson and Brooklyn and Minnesota. We have this here in Westchester. You know what I'm saying? And I want to always uplift that. And I'm talking to everybody of every police reform committee in Westchester. We need to be incorporating that. So that was just my little my little pet peeve, my little platform. I just wanted to say,
AJ, if I could interject for two seconds, I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I promised her dinner at 7.
Okay.
She's talking to me now, saying, "Listen, Daddy, where are you?" So I am going to jump off.
Okay. Any last before you go? Is there any? Well, let me ask this question before because it's all 3.
I don't want
to. It might not be. It's not going to be a popular question. So. I feel, and this is my personal feeling, with platforms, with candidates having a team like that, sometimes a weak this has nothing, that's calling either one of your weak. I've seen a weak candidate who probably shouldn't be in, but they were on the ticket with 2 other strong people and they just got in. So I sometimes think you need to pick the best person in each position. That said, y'all talking about what can happen if you're all 3 get in. What happens if you're all 3 don't get in? Can you still do some of the things that y'all are talking about doing? And Ed, you can answer first. Let Ed answer first since he got to go.
Sure. I'm into positivity, so I don't believe that all 3 of us won't get in.
Nice.
I fully believe we are the best candidates running. If you listen to what Danielle said about police reform, what Cathlin has said about homelessness here in the city, obviously my answers around the comprehensive plan, we're not making this stuff up. And our answers were long because we've thought deeply about these issues. So yeah, I don't believe that we won't win. I believe that we're doing the work. We are the best candidates. And come June 22nd, the city of Mount Vernon will show that.
What I can say to that, AJ, is...
Well, before you go, Ed, if you got to go, thank you for your time.
Thank you, AJ. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Danielle.
Yeah, what I can say to that is, like Ed said, I'm a team player. I'm a basketball player. We never went into a game expecting to lose, right? So I can't come into this election expecting to lose.
That's it.
We're going to go strong. We genuinely believe we're the best 3 candidates for those 3 open seats. And, we'll go until that's not the case. But I think as a team player, we can't even think about what it would look like if it wasn't, because you got to manifest it, right? If we want better for the city, we got to pick the best 3 candidates.
I
guess Caitlin, you're going to say the same thing, but go ahead, Caitlin.
Yeah. Well, I want to piggyback off of what Ed and Danielle said. Just because somebody doesn't have paparazzi behind them doesn't mean that they haven't been doing for their community all this time. And I think that what ends up happening is some people who are uncomfortable with taking pictures when they're doing something that's a part of their character and a part of who they are, that sometimes people want to negate them, right? But I have to tell you, Ed, Danielle, and myself, I believe we have the strongest team. We've been working really hard. And the one thing that I will tell you is that they have been working. We have been working. We're going to continue to work. And we're going to continue to work for the city of Mount Vernon and the residents. We're accessible, and some people aren't, We're going to work hard, and we're going to win this.
Okay. Let me get this question in before I forget. For people that are on the fence, don't know y'all, want to know more about y'all, volunteer or donate, how do you reach out to your campaigns, to your social media websites?
Yeah, so you can go to mvforward.com. Would love for you to get involved with the campaign. You can make donations there. All 3 of our committees are on there, so you can go ahead and make a donation there. But also, we're interested in talking to the people, right? So you can reach out to us on social media at MV Forward 2021 on both Facebook and Instagram, or you can email vote mvforward@gmail.com, and we would love to connect with you that way. Caitlin and I both have personal Facebooks and Instagrams, so you can reach out via that way. But for us to keep it coordinated, it's best to reach out through the the campaign's information site.
Okay. So here is a question that I asked candidates that has nothing to do with the election, but just is a fun question just for the heck of it. So Ed's not here to answer this, so just me the 2. Yes, Ed's not here, so just the 2 of y'all. So one at a time. If your house is on fire and you can only grab 3 things, what would they be? Go. Caitlin?
Go, Caitlin.
Oh, my daughter, my husband. That's it. My daughter and my husband. That's all I'm grabbing.
Okay.
Everything else can burn.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with my laptop, my phone, and my Uggs.
I have a go bag. I have a go bag. My laptop, all my devices, my phone, all my chargers. I'm ready to walk up the door.
Yeah. I could get a charger elsewhere, but you got to replace all.
No, but everything that goes with that. And then some documents.
That's cheating, AJ.
So I have a go bag. So the second question is, if you were a superhero, who would you be and why? Danielle first.
I'm gonna go with Black Panther.
Uh-huh.
Because Mount Vernon is Wakanda, right?
Okay.
There we go.
That's good. That's good. I like that. Caitlin?
Oh, a superhero?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to
Somebody
say
said,
Wonder Woman.
somebody said
I
I'm grabbing my
wanna
wigs
say
and my purse.
Batgirl.
Good.
Batgirl. What did he say?
Batgirl? Sabrina Powell said I'm grabbing my wigs and my purse. But go ahead. I just had to laugh. Go ahead. You said Batgirl. Why?
I want to be Batgirl.
Why?
Because she's sexy.
She's sexy.
Okay,
She was badass.
okay. Most female candidates have all deferred to Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is like the number one answer for whatever reason. They all Wonder Woman. I haven't had no female ever say Black Panther, so that was an original. That was definitely first one. I like that one. Anything individually, anything I have not asked you that you want people to know about your candidacy, your platform, why they should vote for you, anything that I haven't asked you that you want to do?
I think just that we love Mount Vernon. We're going to work really hard for the residents of Mount Vernon. Our website should be up, mvforward.com. We're on Facebook, MV Forward 2021. If anybody's got any questions, like I said, like Danielle said, you can inbox us. Ed, Danielle, and myself have no problem coming, meeting, knocking on your door, coming to your house. If you want to host a cottage party, by all means, contact us. We're very accessible. And just that we're going to work really hard for the city of Mount Vernon. And what we don't know now, you can count on us to research and learn and do what's best for the residents of the city of Mount Vernon.
There you go.
Yeah, I think we have to, stop recycling old politicians. We have to move forward, and the only way to do that is to get some new faces in. So, a lot of people say that they didn't know.
Wait, let me stop you. Qualified new faces, because we've had new faces. We've had new faces. Let's qualify.
Right, we need qualified new faces in, and I think, like I mentioned earlier, it's a culture change. We all have to buy into changing the city to reflect what we want it to be. We have 3 train stations in Mount Vernon. We are 30 minutes from the city. This city should be booming, right? So let's do it together. Let's get involved. Contact us. If you want us to speak to a group, if you want us to speak to your church, if you want us to speak to your mom group, whatever it is, we're willing to do it, because we know that we have to put in work and people need to see us. And the only way we're going to change is if we actually change. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting change. And Mount Vernon's going insane right now, so we have to change it.
And I just want to add, so we have 3 Metro North stations, but then we have another one right on the outskirts of Wakefield. We got 2 subways on either side, so I mean, in addition to all that other stuff. Now this is I don't want anybody to get offended in Mount Vernon when I say this. So one of the things that bothered me when I came back in 2014, and I was new to a lot of this stuff. I didn't really know politics. I didn't really know why, so I wanted to know why things was going. Every time I asked a question, I got one of 2 answers most of the time. Oh, it's Mount Vernon. Or that's just the way it is. And I'm like, it didn't have to be that way. So that's now leading into to my question. So I remember reading a book by Pat Riley when he became the coach of the New York Knicks. And one of the things he said is before he could run one play, before he could teach them any technique, he had to get rid of the mindset and culture of losing. You understand what I'm saying? He had to make them believe in themselves and that they were winners again before he could even do anything. I'm not saying everybody in Mount Vernon, but there is a defeatist attitude that some people have just thrown their hands up, and that's just the way it is.
No.
Some people
warriors.
just don't.
They're
some
warriors.
people, no. I'm for real. I'm real talk. So some people, it's Mount Vernon. What do you expect? Like, those are the kind of answers you get, not just from people outside, but people in Mount Vernon who live here, who are from here.
You and I have had this conversation over and over, and I would say You and I have been friends for almost, what, 6, 7 years?
Yes.
Okay, I think it was 6 years because I don't think you ever got to meet my dad, right?
No.
So with that being said, okay, I have been so fed up when I've said, well, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing this? Oh, we can't. I'm not about we can't. We can. Until my face hits that brick wall, I'm going to knock down that brick wall until we are able to turn this city around, because I still love Mount Vernon. I love Mount Vernon. I'm in love with Mount Vernon. I'm all about Mount Vernon. I want other people to have the same pride that we had growing up here. And we are going to make this happen. That's the one promise I would give to the city of Mount Vernon. I'm not going to promise anything else because I'm not sitting in that seat yet. Okay? The one thing I promise is that we will bring pride back and respectability back to the city of Mount Vernon. We deserve it. Our kids deserve to walk out of Mount Vernon and be proud of where they come from.
Agree. Real quick. So, Lorraine, there was a comment from Maria. She said, talking about hugs, she said, you send Lorraine Lopez to give me my hug. And then that was like 15 minutes ago. And then she just said, back to Lorraine Lopez and these hugs. So,
I got you, Maria, soon.
But she also said people really need to vote for their own minds to move forward before they can 100% support a Mount Vernon forward slate, in my opinion. I do, and I do want to say that I agree. I've said this at the city council. I had, Richard Thomas was mayor. The council, Roberta and Yana was still in the council. And I addressed the mayor first, then the council, and then the residents. And the residents, I said, and I'll say this again, we can't vote and then go to sleep for 4 years and then wake up and vote again. If we want people to run and get elected and then be the change agents, one, that's not going to be very popular because you're breaking up the status quo and they're going to get attacked. You need to support the people that you put in there. You need to support them. Talking about the governor and all of them coming in here, I have a saying right now, like I said, too many times Black Westchester has gone to fight for somebody, join somebody in their fight. And then when the rocks come by, I notice I'm standing there by myself getting hit. And the person who's fighting they're gone. And I start saying, I'm not going to fight for people if they're not going to fight for themselves. The governor and none of those people are going to come in here if the city is not going to fight for itself. It's the residents that have the power. And we need to get to the understanding of that again, because we think the elected officials have all this power. They can't, they need us to get in, first off. You know what I'm saying? But we have to do our part. And we have to be more engaged. And if you don't know what's going on, go to your city council meetings and find out what's going on. And there's no excuse because they're streaming them live now. You have a problem with the school, go to the school board meetings. I've been to one or two. I was in there by myself. Like, it was me and two other people. You know what I'm saying? And one person was the husband of one of the people that was on the board. So, like, it was just there. They don't count. Like, you know what I'm saying? So we don't go to these things, but we always want to say these things are not being done. They don't do these things for us. You have to fight for what you want. I'm not sure who said it because it's been attributed to so many people. There's a saying that the people get the government they deserve. They get the government they vote for. So if you have a problem with the people that are being lit, you are part of the problem. And so I say that we collectively need to educate ourselves more on who these people are that we're putting in. And then when we put them in, we need to support them. So that was just I want to throw that out, especially in Mount Vernon. And that really has nothing to do with you individually, but that's my
mindset. It's a mindset. That's why Ed, Danielle, and myself want to move the city forward in a positive way, because it's a mindset. It really, you're absolutely right. It's a mindset. If you respect your city, you're going to respect yourself. You're going to be better. Everybody would be better.
One of the things I heard people criticize Ernie Davis when he was mayor. He said you could call up here complaining about dirt on your street. If there's a bottle or something in front of your house,
Pick it up.
pick it up.
Right.
Don't wait for DPW to come pick up. If there's people drive down and throw their trash. If it's where I live and I actually pick it up and put it in my can. I mean, we have to do those things. Yes. Right. We have to do those things, and we would have a cleaner city if we all. Here's a good example. So my stepmother, right? She has her kitchen is all white. Her kitchen is all white. All right. Her kitchen is all white. Okay. Her kitchen is. And I'm gonna close after this. Her kitchen is all white. It's pristine. If you spill something in there, you want to get that up right away because you don't want to be the person. Now, if you go to somebody else's house and there's trash all over the place and you drop something, you might not pick up. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, if you don't treat your area good, you can't expect somebody else.
Mount Vernon and Pelham. You speed through Mount Vernon and slow down and crawl through Pelham, right?
And turn your music down as soon as you get across.
Right.
Yeah.
Same
so
thing.
Any last words, comments?
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, AJ. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
so
great.
Now that I've done the interview, so I will say this then. So I tried to be as non-committal. I've known Caitlin for a long time. We are friends. One thing I will say about Caitlin, so Caitlin is the white girl that will come through the hood and walk through the hood, and you can see her, and she'll be there by herself without no company. She the people, and she's done a lot for the community. So I will say that. And Danielle, we was talking about this small business, support small business. I started a section in Black Westchester when we first started opening back up from COVID. It was called Black to Business, and it was support Black business. And I saw your card in Kenny Chamberlain's building, and I added you to that list. Sometimes, so you might not even know that your firm is in there. Yeah. So that has nothing to do with this interview. But I just want. So yes, and yes, Maria, I like what you. Yes, we're gonna put that up there. She said, support Black Westchester. Yes, let's do that. Let's everybody support Black Westchester. Yeah. So thank you very much. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I wish you all well. We're not endorsing anybody, I don't think, in this election. And if for some reason we are, it won't be until I've interviewed all of the candidates. So, but I do wish y'all well.
AJ. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I hope everybody learned something here, and this will be up on the website in a couple of hours. So if you miss it, you can watch it then. And that's it. That's it.
Have a great night, AJ.
You have a good day too. All right.
All right, bye.
You are now tuned into the People Before Politics radio show, brought to you by the good folks at
Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Check the newspaper. Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Check the newspaper.
Real talk for the community since 2014.